Congress's alleged links to George Soros and the opposition accusing the Treasury benches of not wanting the House to function. The Congress party has consistently protested outside the Parliament at the Makar Dwar, while the opposition accuses the BJP of raising controversies with the sole intent of ensuring Parliament disruption. Congress's own allies want the party to get past the crony capitalism issue. The hostility between the opposition and the centre has now taken another turn, especially in the Rajya Sabha, where the India bloc parties moved a no-confidence motion or an impeachment resolution against the Rajya Sabha chairman and the vice president of this country, Jagdeep Dhankhar. India bloc MPs met Rajya Sabha Secretary General and submitted that no-confidence motion. It read, "We, the undersigned members of the Council of States, which is the Rajya Sabha, are constrained to move this present notice against Honourable Vice President and Chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, Jagdeep Dhankhar. The undersigned members condemn the partisan conduct of Jagdeep Dhankhar, which is unbecoming of high-level constitutional authorities that are expected to act in accordance with and in furtherance of the principles that are enshrined in the Constitution of India." Now, in independent India, there is no precedence of a no-confidence motion or an impeachment resolution that has been moved against the Rajya Sabha chairman. 3 notices have been moved against Lok Sabha speakers in the past. They were discussed and defeated. The opposition bloc does not even have the numbers to get this through, but they want to send a message because they allege that the Rajya Sabha chairman Jagdeep Dhankhar is biased towards the ruling party MPs, that the ruling party MPs get more time and more say in the Rajya Sabha than the opposition benches. The India bloc has also claimed that there are frequent interruptions during speeches that are being made by opposition MPs, irrespective of what the subject of discussion is. Mallikarjun Kharge's mic was allegedly turned off is the allegation also that's been made. Remember, this is an allegation that was made even in the Lok Sabha last session when Rahul Gandhi made a similar allegation. The opposition MPs also allege that there are personal remarks that are being passed by Jagdeep Dhankhar that are violative of the rules that are unbecoming of the Rajya Sabha chairman. They've invoked Article 67B for the removal process of the Vice President. They say there is a law that gives us the right to move for this impeachment motion, which is exactly why we've done it. The India bloc stands united on moving forward with this motion, which is why today we saw at least 60 members of Parliament of the opposition bloc sign that particular letter and submit it to the Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha. So what exactly do the rules say? Just because it's never been done before, does it mean it cannot be done? Well, Article 67B of the Constitution of India states that a Vice President may be removed from his office by a resolution of the Council of States, that is the Rajya Sabha, passed by the majority of all of the members, then by the members of the Council and agreed by the House of People, which is Lok Sabha. But no resolution for the purpose of this clause shall be moved unless at least 14 days notice has been given of the intention to move the resolution, which means if the resolution has been moved today, the Parliament needs to be in session for at least a fortnight, 14 days. That's not the case as far as the winter session goes. Meanwhile, the BJP kept its attention firmly on the Congress party, specifically the Gandhis, over the George Soros issue. In both houses of Parliament, BJP members of Parliament demanded an explanation from the grand old party. Union Minister JP Nadda said that the opposition has no defence against this particular link. Kiren Rijiju, Parliamentary Affairs Minister, in fact today said that this Destroy India lobby will fail inevitably, but the Congress needs to come clean. The Congress needs to apologise, is also what Kiren Rijiju said. Another BJP MP, Dinesh Sharma, said that the Soros link being uncovered layer by layer and there are a lot more questions that come up every single day that need answering. Arun Singh of the BJP said that you cannot deny this Congress link to anti-India elements. An explanation is required. Rajiv Rudy echoing that sentiment, going on to say that Congress will have to answer. Nishikant Dubey, another member of Parliament of the Congress in the Lok Sabha, has been vehemently asking for answers from the Congress party, specifically from the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi. He too said today that Congress only wants to break the nation, which has been amply clear from the links that have been put forth, is what the BJP alleges. So we're seeing two sides. The opposition and the centre, both adamant on their set of issues, seem to be convenient to beat each other up. On one case, it's the Soros issue. On the other, it's the impeachment one. So who's really diverting the Parliament and the people of this country from the real issues? That's what we ask on Plain Speak tonight.
They are trying to bring instability. सतही घटिया आरोप है. विपक्ष के नेता ने उठाकर ये साबित किया है कि बाहरी शक्तियों का वो एक तरीके से औजार बनकर बनाने में अपना योगदान कर रहे हैं।
जब सत्ताधारी सरकार संसद का समय नष्ट करके संसद को चलने पर गतिरोध डाल रही है।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी सदन को नहीं चलाना चाहती, अब ये पूरा देश देख रहा है। सुबह हल्ला करना शुरू करते हैं, तो अगर आपको नारेबाजी करना है तो हमसे आप थोड़ी जीत पाएंगे।
हमारी भारत को
Let's open this up. Rohan Gupta, spokesperson of the BJP, Sujata Paul, spokesperson of the Congress, Arka Nag, political analyst that backs the TMC, and Advocate Sumit Nagpal joins us on this broadcast. Let me open up by asking Sujata Paul. Sujata Paul, as far as this no-confidence motion is concerned that has been moved against Jagdeep Dhankhar, there are at least 60 members of parliament, we're given to understand, that have signed this particular motion. The opposition does not have the numbers to actually get this through. Is this just another issue that will stall the parliament henceforth?
Poonam, it's very important to understand that the country needs to know, the country needs to understand what is happening with the opposition in parliament today. In the Rajya Sabha, the manner in which the Honorable Speaker behaves is unbecoming, unbehoving of the position he holds, and we feel hurt much more than he feels hurt on every issue that is brought up. He today, even though the adjournment application was moved by the ruling BJP, it was rejected by him. But still, he allowed the BJP members to continuously speak one after the other. Why is it that Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge was not allowed to speak? Because he's a Dalit. Why were the opposition members not allowed to speak? Because for them, they are untouchables just because they have brute majority. That is not how a democracy functions, and that is very clear. And if they think that by stalling the parliament, by screaming and shouting, and by bringing up issues which have no meaning at all, like that of George Soros that you were mentioning, it is very clear that all they need to do is to stall parliament, to make sure that the actual issues of people are not discussed in parliament, that Gautam Adani is protected in parliament and by the government, because this government is of Adani, by Adani and for Adani, and that is very clear. Therefore, when we talk about the issues of the people, why is it that the government is unwilling to listen? Why is it that issues which are as irrelevant as George Soros are brought in? And why is it that the government accuses the opposition of siding with anti-national elements? Are they talking about our country being so weak that the opposition has to bring in some anti-national elements to side with? The fact is that the BJP government knows that it has no data. It has not conducted a census, and that is why they are stalling the sessions of parliament.
Rohan Gupta, are issues like George Soros actually the red herring? Is there an evidence about these alleged links that the BJP talks of against the leader of opposition in this country, or Sonia Gandhi? We had the BJP call Rahul Gandhi the biggest traitor of this country. If that was the case, and if there was credible evidence to prove that it was, then go ahead, file cases against him, take him to court, let the legal system take the course of law. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is that slogans are being raised, allegations are being made in parliament, and the parliament is being held to ransom. I believe you're on mute, Rohan Gupta. If you can unmute yourself and go ahead, please.
I think this no confidence motion is result of frustration of opposition party, of people's no confidence in them. They don't have confidence in election commission. They have no confidence in our judiciary. They have no confidence in our parliamentary system. They have no confidence on speaker. They do not have any confidence on our people or democracy, and that's why this is the frustration. Poonam, you tell me, this is not the Sanyog, this is the Prayog that just before 2-3 days, every time the parliament session is going to happen, some foreign report comes and opposition acts on that and disturbs the parliament. Who is disrupting parliament? There is the agenda. There are a lot of bills which have been listed. Because opposition knows that they will be exposed, their agenda will be exposed, they are halting it. We're talking about no confidence motion. Don't you feel that no confidence motion is diversion from the core issue? Because they don't have answers. They are aligned with the foreign forces. That's why they are doing
But
this.
is the core
Whether
issue
at the
George
time of
Soros
COVID,
and these alleged links that the BJP talks of, are those the core issues? Because like I said, if that is the case and there is proof that he is the biggest traitor of the country like the BJP alleges, then why not take action against him?
Absolutely, Poonam. This is the result. Why BJP brought all these things to show that how opposition is acting on the film which is designed outside the country. That is their core agenda. There is no people of country, they have lost confidence in oppositions because of that intentions are not right. They are against the people of country. They don't want the core issues to be discussed. Let me talk about the Hindenburg issue. Some short sharer in foreign country, he releases the report. You discuss it in parliament. Lakhs and crores of our investors got wiped out. Just 6 months back, everything was normal. Then who is responsible? What came out of it? Again, same thing. Same Soros releases the report. He discusses on international media because whether it is George Soros or other industrialists sitting outside the country, they are not happy with the way India is going. And that is why opposition is playing at the tune of these foreign forces. And that is what we have exposed. You tell me, Poonam, opposition has the right opportunity in terms of parliament session where they can talk about the development, they can cross the government, they can ask questions. What they are doing? They are bringing no confidence motion against the speaker. Do you feel that is a core issue? Because they are frustrated, because they know that they don't have any other issue to back up their blunders, they are bringing these issues. The whole country has rejected this negative politics, Poonam. This is not the first time. This is 7th or 8th times they are misusing the parliament session for their own agenda, which people of India are not going to
Interestingly,
forgive.
that's the allegation that the opposition makes against the BJP as well. At the end of the day, ensuring that the parliament functions smoothly is the responsibility of the government of the day. So if the government of the day has not been able to build consensus and ensure that there is productivity in the parliament, both houses of parliament, both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha have functioned below 40% in this session. We have another 10 days to go, 2 of which have been demarked for the constitution debate. What is going to happen in the rest of the 6 days, rest of the 7 days? We don't know. Perhaps what we've seen in the last 10 days. All of that din and pandemonium and not real business taking
Absolutely.
place. But Arka Nag, let me bring you in as well. Is the TMC with the Congress party as far as the crony capitalism, the Adani issue is concerned, as far as this impeachment motion goes? Because even today, before the parliament session began, when we had Jagdeep Dhankhar try and build consensus, he had a meeting with floor leaders from different parties, the TMC decided to skip that meeting.
Well, I will like to answer the entirety of what has been discussed in 3 parts. But before that, whether the TMC will participate in the impeachment proceeding or not is something the leader of the house or the spokesperson of the party would shortly come and let the country know. We need to wait for that. And so far as the issues at hand are concerned, let me start with number 1, that is 11th of August 2022, which was a disgraceful day because a man who had championed in violating the constitution as a governor was elected and sworn in as the Vice President of India. A Vice President of India's post is supposed to be a political post, a constitutional post, and something which is to be beyond questioning. But with the appointment, with the election of Mr. Dhankar as the Vice President was something, a tribute or a gift given by BJP for successfully and continuously violating the constitution as the governor of Bengal. He is one of the worst governors.
But his appointment is not new. Why is the issue? If there was an issue with his appointment, then it should have been raised, opposed, taken to court back when it happened.
It is not new either. It is not. It is also not new that he is an absolute and total failure. He is an absolute biased man. He is disgrace to the constitution of the country, and it is also not new, Poonamji. It is a very old situation. And so far as George Soros is concerned,
You may
I would
say
like
it's an
to
old
make a
situation,
point.
but it's all in the realm of allegations, isn't it? Like I said, the opposition has moved this
Realm of
impeachment motion. They
allegations,
don't have the
just
numbers.
because of
They don't have the
Jagdeep
numbers to
Dhankhar,
actually go
followed
through
by
with
the
it.
present
If you
governor,
had a
the
problem with
office of
his
the
appointment
governor
as
of
the vice
Bengal has been
president and
demeaned.
de facto the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, you should have raised that issue, like I said, filed a case, taken it to court back when the appointment happened. This is not the first session that he's presiding over, is he?
I am not at all. I am not at all saying that this can be challenged in the court. His election as vice president cannot be challenged. But that does not give him the way that he is a great man or his vice presidency has to be looked up as the vice president of Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. It is a shameful thing that the chair, which was once held by Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, is held by a man who is a political person, who is the face of biasness. What kind of actions he takes, what kind of words he speaks, and please show the people of the viewers that what he has done when he was governor of Bengal. He has stripped out the constitution every day in the name of supporting the BJP of West Bengal. He is unfit to be a part of any constitutional office at any point of time in the largest constitutional democracy of the world. And so far as the George Soros issue is concerned, George Soros is a 94-year-old man. He is there from 2014 onwards. Perhaps he is available for the Modi government to take some action. What actions have Modi government taken? Only when it was found that Adani is there and Adani has to be put out to the hands of law, BJP comes up with the George Soros point. The BJP is basically a moth-eaten BJP in majority in the Lok Sabha, is basically a afraid political party. They do not know, even today, they do not know who will be their national president. They declared their national president as one of the ministers, saying one person, one post, but the person is holding two posts from 2024 elections. Until now, they do not know who can be the president of the party because they are divided among themselves. We are also looking forward to see the 75-year-old Modi, whether he will resign and make way for younger generations or not.
Sure.
So, taking time from BJP or listening or getting lectured by BJP that they are trying to make the government work, has the BJP forgotten that the house belongs to the opposition?
Sure. And in a healthy democracy, a debate is required. Like I said, 4 bills have been passed in the din in the last 12 days. What has happened to those bills? What came out of it? The people of this country don't know. And that's the most unfortunate bit.
It is the members were suspended and the criminal laws was passed. This is the government. This is
but even when the members are not suspended, sir, unfortunately, a lot of opposition MPs do walk out when these bills are passed.
Has to be. House belongs to the opposition.
Sure.
If you do not give the opposition the breathing space, then it has to.
But the opposition also needs to.
Sure.
But the opposition also needs to ensure that eventually the parliament functions. There has to be a common ground that is being built. Consensus, if it has to be built, has to be done from both sides.
The NRI Prime Minister is not interested in the working of the parliament. What will the opposition do? So if everything is on the opposition, resign, go. Let the opposition run the show. Why are you there? With all this majority, go home, stay, do something else.
But if the Rajya Sabha chairman, if the Lok Sabha speaker, the parliamentary affairs minister on multiple occasions have asked for building consensus, have asked for business to take place in parliament as it should, because it's time wasted, it's money that is spent of the taxpayer of you and I. And we'd want issues that actually matter to be raised. But let me get it.
Session which happens in December is called the winter session. But this is the Adani saving session. So congratulations to the BJP for a successful Adani saving parliamentary session.
It's interesting you say that because the TMC doesn't want to be seen with the Congress on this issue. The TMC hasn't attended one protest of the Congress that has been happening for consistent 12 days at Makardwar. But let me get in Sumit Nagpal as well. He's been patiently listening. Sumit Nagpal, as far as this no confidence motion is concerned, legally speaking, we have no precedent as far as independent India is concerned, but yes, it is doable. There is a provision for it as far as our constitution is concerned. But is this something that could actually happen, or is this another red herring that seems to be stalling the parliament without any work being done and just allegations and counter allegations flying here and there?
See, I will start the debate with the share of Ghalib. It is said, हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत लेकिन दिल बहलाने को गालिब ख्याल अच्छा है. So, as far as this no confidence motion is concerned, I can tell you when it comes to the legal procedures and the way it has been presented in the Constitution of India, the article which is dealing with this particular aspect is very, very clear that there has to be a simple majority in the Rajya Sabha and a 14-day notice has to be given. And then there has to be a consensus in the Lok Sabha as well. So, as far as this impeachment is concerned, I can tell you very well that this is not going to happen. But yes, democracy gives power to the opposition parties to express their opinion, and if they want to express by bringing a no confidence motion or impeachment motion against the vice president, I can tell you that this is perfectly possible for them. But as far as law is concerned, I can tell you that this is not going to happen because they know they do not have the numbers, they know that they do not
So
have
if
the time, and even after that, if they want to express their opinion, they are welcome to do it.
Right. So is this just about then sending a message? Because that's what I think even the opposition wants to do. But Sujata Paul, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, because there's a question for the BJP spokesperson. He's talking about anti-India forces and connecting Soros with it. I want him to answer one simple question. The Open Society Foundation of George Soros is funded by UN Democracy Fund, which is funded by 45 countries, in which India is number 4. In the last 8 years, the Indian government, so to speak, Mr. Modi, has funded it with $900,000. Is he anti-India? Are you going to call him anti-India? Second point, in 1999 is when during Atal Bihari Vajpayee's time, George Soros first made his entry. After 2014, if he is conducting anti-India activities, why are you not trying to extradite him? And thirdly, the one particular company which has been funded by him, Capital Float, that has Gaurav Hinduja and Shashank Rangya. Now, this particular gentleman, Shashank, he is married to a former treasurer of the BJP, Viren Shah's granddaughter. You are connected to him. So, answer, is the BJP anti-India? You can't keep accusing the Congress party or the opposition of being anti-India without, any proof. And if that is so, then Mr. Modi needs to be held accountable. You accuse media part, you accuse the US of acting against Mr. Modi. But when the same media works in your favor, talks greatly about Mr. Modi, then you go hailing that particular media. So stop having double standards.
So Rahul Gandhi, then is this just politics of convenience? Because these questions will be asked. The allegations that have been made against the Gandhis specifically and the Congress party by the BJP are extremely grave. Like I said, if the allegations are true, there is evidence to support those allegations, then why not file a case, which still hasn't been done? What about the Open Society Foundation, the foundation that George Soros runs? Do they have offices in India? Yes. Are they functional in India? Are they banned in India? No, they're not.
The way opposition is behaving, they have completely lost trust in our democracy. They don't believe our Nyaya Tantra, they don't believe our Lok
Sir, if the scenes that we've seen in Parliament continue, the people of this country will also lose a little faith in democracy, because this is not what parliamentarians were voted for.
You allowed other people to answer.
I'm allowing you also, sir. Please go ahead.
Please allow me.
Go ahead.
Let me complete. See, idea is very simple. Why we talked about Soros? We need to expose the opposition parties that why they are doing it, why they are spoiling session after session, why they are killing people's important money, why they are not allowing debate on the important bills. Because there is some links there, and we have given the evidences. Let opposition party come out and tell. Mr. Salil, who is the director of this organization, he has been working with Mr. Rahul Gandhi in Bharat Jodo Yatra. It is upon Congress party to tell whenever these reports come, they discuss in parliament, they stall the whole parliament session and kill the people's time. What happened after Hindenburg? They talked, they made a big issue after Hindenburg. Everything became normal. So idea here is, Poonam, because opposition parties have completely lost the agenda and the trust of the people, they are misusing the powers outside the country and disrupting the parliament. I think this kind of propaganda is not going to work. People of country, they have rejected it, they are going to reject. Anybody making accusation about particular company outside the India, how BJP is responsible, that company will answer.
But that company is functional in India, sir. That is why the government of the day is functional. The question that Sujata Paul asked you was very specific. That if you say that George Soros has been peddling this, listen to my question, sir. 30 seconds. That the allegation that you say that George Soros has been peddling this kind of anti-India narrative, then what has the central government done to stop it, at least in India?
Absolutely, we will do that. We have given the evidences and definitely the probe will go on. And
we have given the evidences to whom? Who is probing this? You are the one that's supposed to probe this.
Poonam, one more thing here. When accusations are made against particular company, same day, it was the last day of Maharashtra elections, the opposition leaders, they come out and do press conference against that, saying that the accusations, let the accusations be proved. How you are questioning BJP? It will be answered. Point here is you are stalling parliament because you do not have any issues to take forward. There are 18 important bills. There was no discussion on that. That you are bringing no confidence motion without any kind of support, without any constitutional procedure to be followed. What are you doing? The whole country is watching you. And that's why we had to come out with the evidences that this is the reason why opposition parties, they are stalling the parliament because of their connection outside the country. Otherwise, you
Sujata Paul, now the opposition may say that the government is not doing enough to ensure that the parliament functions. Like I said, it is the responsibility of the government. But tali ek haath se nahi bachti. There has to be a middle ground that has to be found. Can that middle ground be found for the sake of this country?
Certainly, the government needs to understand that the parliament belongs to the opposition. That's what Baba Sahib said. And therefore, what is the problem in having a discussion on Adani?
But then why do we see opposition, specifically Congress members of parliament, more outside the parliament than inside?
Because there is no discussion happening. You're not being allowed to speak. Your mics are being switched off. Why is that happening? Of course, when there is an arrest warrant against a person who is so
Paul,
close
this
to
mics being switched off allegation was made last session as well by Rahul Gandhi in the Lok Sabha. That allegation was rejected with proof by the Lok Sabha speaker back then as well. These allegations keep coming up. But at the end of the day, if productive discussions have to happen, they have to happen inside the parliament. But we see members of parliament led by the Congress outside at Makardwar more than we see them inside.
No, Poonam, you've seen the Honorable Vice President say that this will not go on record, nothing will go on record. The moment Mr. Adani's name comes. Therefore, today it is Parliament which is just protecting Mr. Adani and that's it. Let's have a discussion for an hour and a half and that's it. That matter will be done and over with. But the
is this just a case of my way or highway from both sides? And Sumit Nagpal, I want you to have the last word here. I'm running short of time. As far as the parliament is concerned, like I said, it's a temple of democracy. There's a certain sanctity that is connected with it. We want our members of parliament to discuss what matters to us. If both sides keep this my way or highway sort of a attitude, then where does that leave the people of this country? Where does that leave the voter and the taxpayer like you and I?
I can tell you that I witnessed the parliamentary system since last 25 years, and I can tell you that during last 5-7 years, the kind of debate which happens in the parliament, the kind of reluctance on part of both sides to engage is more, I can tell you. When there was a time when Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister at that time, or Mr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister at that time, the engagement between both sides was more. But as far as the present situation is concerned, both sides are adamant, and we have seen that pandemonium is there, lack of debate is there, and ultimately the people of this country are suffering because of this attitude from both the sides, I would say. When it comes to Mr. George Soros, you have to understand one thing. Both the sides say that there has to be investigation, something needs to be done. So you also have to understand that supporting a narrative doesn't per se result in offense. So unless there is an offense, unless there is a clear-cut conspiracy, no legal action can be initiated. So supporting
absolutely, which is why then this is just about building a certain narrative and trying to come on top as far as the optics war goes. Is that what this really is about? And in that bargain, is the taxpayer, is the voter of this country losing out? I leave you with that thought. I thank you all for joining us here on this discussion on this edition of Plain Speak. It's time for a quick break, but on the other side, the tributes are pouring in for UPA era minister and former Karnataka Chief Minister SM Krishna, who passed away this morning. We'll get you glimpses of what his life looked like.
MDH का किचन Yeah, that's right. Israeli troops have been going into the Syrian buffer zone on the other side of this border fence right here. This is the line that separates the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights and Syrian territory. There is a buffer zone of about 2 kilometers where Israeli troops have not been positioned for more than 50 years. But now Israeli troops are inside that buffer zone, and we're also told, according to the Israeli Defense Ministry, that Israeli troops have also captured positions beyond that buffer zone as well in Syrian-held territory. You can see my cameraman John is now zooming in on a building here where moments ago we just saw some Israeli troops who were positioned inside that buffer zone. And then if he whips back around over here, this gate that is over here is where we have seen Israeli military vehicles have gone back and forth throughout the day. Yesterday was the first day that Israeli troops began going into this buffer zone after the Israeli Prime Minister said Syrian troops left their position on the other side of that buffer zone. According to the Prime Minister, that meant the collapse of the 1974 agreement between Israel and Syria that has held for more than 50 years, and he then sent Israeli troops to go and take over those positions, effectively positioning Israeli troops between the communities here in the Golan Heights and those newly victorious Syrian rebels. So as you can see, this gate is open at the moment, and we expect that Israeli troops will continue to go inside and outside of that area. Now, in addition to what we're seeing here in this buffer zone, we also know that the Israeli military has been conducting airstrikes inside of Syria. We have been hearing and seeing those jets overhead throughout the morning. And we know that the Israeli military said they are going after strategic weapons of the Syrian armed forces, going after ballistic missiles, air defense systems that were previously held by the Syrian regime. So a lot of military action is taking place here as a result of the fall of the Assad regime yesterday, which stunned the region at large, of course. And of course, in this community as well of Majd al-Shams, where we are now, we also know that there are people who have family on both sides of the border. The people in this area consider themselves to be Syrians of the Syrian Druze community, and many families here are separated by this 1974 demarcation line, with families on both sides of that border. Yeah, that's right. Israeli troops have been going into the Syrian buffer zone on the other side of this border fence right here. This is the line that separates the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights and Syrian territory. There is a buffer zone of about 2 kilometers where Israeli troops have not been positioned for more than 50 years. But now Israeli troops are inside that buffer zone, and we're also told, according to the Israeli Defense Ministry, that Israeli troops have also captured positions beyond that buffer zone as well in Syrian-held territory. You can see my cameraman John is now zooming in on a building here where moments ago we just saw some Israeli troops who were positioned inside that buffer zone. And then if he whips back around over here, this gate that is over here is where we have seen Israeli military vehicles have gone back and forth throughout the day. Yesterday was the first day that Israeli troops began going into this buffer zone after the Israeli Prime Minister said Syrian troops left their position on the other side of that buffer zone. According to the Prime Minister, that meant the collapse of the 1974 agreement between Israel and Syria that has held for more than 50 years, and he then sent Israeli troops to go and take over those positions, effectively positioning Israeli troops between the communities here in the Golan Heights and those newly victorious Syrian rebels. So as you can see, this gate is open at the moment, and we expect that Israeli troops will continue to go inside and outside of that area. Now, in addition to what we're seeing here in this buffer zone, we also know that the Israeli military has been conducting.
Thank you for staying with us. UP-era External Affairs Minister and former Chief Minister of Karnataka, SM Krishna, passed away at the age of 92 in the wee hours of this morning. The last rite of the stalwart will be conducted at Maddur, his hometown, on Wednesday. From being a law professor to a remarkable political stint, SM Krishna leaves behind a long legacy that will be remembered by generations to come.
Krishna was more than just a politician. For those who truly knew him, he was a statesman, a visionary, a guide, and a man of honor. As a veteran who has worked in 3 political parties, all leaders have just one word to decry him across party lines. He is the Ajatshatru of Indian politics, a statesman without adversaries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to X to condole the death of the former Karnataka Chief Minister, stating, and I quote, "SM Krishna was a remarkable leader, admired by people from all walks of life." Krishna pursued his education at Mysore's Maharaja College and Bengaluru's Government Law College before heading to the United States.
It is a great moment for India.
A Fulbright scholar, he studied at the Southern Methodist University in Dallas and George Washington University in Washington, D.C., where he did a course in international law. Upon returning to India, Krishna began his career as a professor at the Renukacharya Law College in Bengaluru. However, his true calling lay in politics. Over a remarkable career spanning 6 decades, Krishna left an indelible mark on Indian politics and governance, transforming Bengaluru into a global IT hub, championing reforms and becoming a symbol of modern, forward-thinking leadership. The 92-year-old veteran politician passed away at 2:45 a.m. on Tuesday at his Bengaluru residence. His mortal remains will be taken to Madur, his hometown in Mandya district, for the final rites. Krishna's crowning political achievement came in 1999 when he was appointed the Chief Minister of Karnataka. Tasked with leading a Congress government, he brought a fresh vision that sought to integrate Bengaluru with the world. Krishna was instrumental in turning Bengaluru into India's Silicon Valley. He promoted public-private partnerships and set up Bangalore Agenda Task Force, or BATF, inviting IT leaders like N.R. Narayanan Murthy to help guide the city's growth. His love for Bengaluru wasn't just professional, but deeply personal. An avid traveller and voracious reader, he envisioned the city as India's answer to Singapore, a goal that guided much of his work as Chief Minister. SM Krishna's legacy is one of transformation and modernization. Awarded the Padma Vibhushan in 2023, India's second highest civilian honour, SM Krishna leaves behind a legacy that transcends party lines and political divides.
On that note, it's time for another quick break on this edition of Plain Speak. But on the other side, we'll stay with Karnataka because there's an issue that the citizens are concerned with. They're cornering the Siddaramaiah government over its plan to give the IT city a facelift. What's the controversy about and what's the politics about? We'll tell you.
Oh, I asked Lisa.
Yeah, that's right. Israeli troops have been going into the Syrian buffer zone on the other side of this border fence right here. This is the line that separates the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights and Syrian territory. There is a buffer zone of about 2 kilometers where Israeli troops have not been positioned for more than 50 years. But now Israeli troops are inside that buffer zone, and we're also told, according to the Israeli Defense Ministry, that Israeli troops have also captured positions beyond that buffer zone as well in Syrian-held territory. You can see my cameraman John is now zooming in on a building here where moments ago we just saw some Israeli troops who were positioned inside that buffer zone. And then if he whips back around over here, this gate that is over here is where we have seen Israeli military vehicles have gone back and forth throughout the day. Yesterday was the first day that Israeli troops began going into this buffer zone after the Israeli Prime Minister said Syrian troops left their position on the other side of that buffer zone. According to the Prime Minister, that meant the collapse of the 1974 agreement between Israel and Syria that has held for more than 50 years, and he then sent Israeli troops to go and take over those positions, effectively positioning Israeli troops between the communities here in the Golan Heights and those newly victorious Syrian rebels. So, as you can see, this gate is open at the moment, and we expect that Israeli troops will continue to go inside and outside of that area. Now, in addition to what we're seeing here in this buffer zone, we also know that the Israeli military has been conducting airstrikes inside of Syria. We have been hearing and seeing those jets overhead throughout the morning, and we know that the Israeli military said they are going after strategic weapons of the Syrian armed forces, going after ballistic missiles, air defense systems that were previously held by the Syrian regime. So a lot of military action is taking place here as a result of the fall of the Assad regime yesterday, which stunned the region at large, of course. And of course, in this community as well of Majd al-Shams, where we are now, we also know that there are people who have family on both sides of the border. The people in this area consider themselves to be Syrians of the Syrian Druze community, and many families here are separated by this 1974 demarcation line, with families on both sides of that border. Yeah, that's right. Israeli troops have been going into the Syrian buffer zone on the other side of this border fence right here. This is the line that separates the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights and Syrian territory. There is a buffer zone of about 2 kilometers where Israeli troops have not been positioned for more than 50 years. But now Israeli troops are inside that buffer zone, and we're also told, according to the Israeli Defense Ministry, that Israeli troops have also captured positions beyond that buffer zone as well in Syrian-held territory. You can see my cameraman John is now zooming in on a building here where moments ago we just saw some Israeli troops who were positioned inside that buffer zone. And then if he whips back around over here, this gate that is over here is where we have seen Israeli military vehicles have gone back and forth throughout the day. Yesterday was the first day that Israeli troops began going into this buffer zone after the Israeli Prime Minister said Syrian troops left their position on the other side of that buffer zone. According to the Prime Minister, that meant the collapse of the 1974 agreement between Israel and Syria that has held for more than 50 years, and he then sent Israeli troops to go and take over those positions, effectively positioning Israeli troops between the communities here in the Golan Heights and those newly victorious Syrian rebels. So, as you can see, this gate is open at the moment, and we expect that Israeli troops will continue to go inside and outside of that area. Now, in addition to what we're seeing here in this buffer zone, we also know that the Israeli military has been...
Welcome back. The Karnataka government, in a bid to give the IT capital a facelift, has planned 2 high-cost infrastructure projects, the Bengaluru Tunnel Road and the Sky Deck Tower. The proposition has, however, sparked massive criticism from civic rights activists. In a growing online petition, civic activists and urban planners have urged the Siddaramaiah government to reconsider its decision, claiming that the Congress's priorities are extremely misplaced. What exactly are these 2 projects that the Congress is now eyeing on? The Bengaluru Tunnel Road is meant to be a 6-lane underground corridor. It spans 18 kilometers from Hebbar to the central Silk Board junction. It's estimated to cost about 16,500 crore rupees. The Sky Deck Tower will be a 250-meter high tower. It is also being touted as South Asia's tallest. The project is estimated to cost about 500 crores. But that's not all. Along with other proposed projects, the double-decker flyovers, expressways, these initiatives are expected to cost the state government a fortune, 19,000 crore rupees to be specific, for which they are now going to be borrowing. The mega projects are giving the IT capital a big boost, but citizens are raising an objection as far as this particular project is concerned. Misplaced priorities. You don't have roads that are good enough, but you want to have these fancy projects. What's the point of it all is what these citizens are asking. So are these priorities then just misplaced for the Congress government? Is this really a pet project of the state government for which they're gambling with the lives and money of the taxpayer? That's what we ask on Plain Speak.
It As you can see behind me, this is one of the worst affected roads from the recent rains that the city witnessed. This is the cause of concern for many motorists, and as you can see, many of them resort to, going over even footpaths for that matter to pass through these terrible roads.
Let's open this up. Prashant GS, spokesperson of the BJP, Dhruv Jatti, spokesperson of the Congress, and activist who started this entire campaign, Katyani Kamraj, joining us on this broadcast. Katyani, let me begin by asking you, you've begun this online petition of sorts, a campaign against these two dream projects, so to say, of the state government. What exactly are the issues that you're highlighting?
Well, the very first point is that the due process has not been followed for getting approval for these projects. There is a Bengaluru Metropolitan Land Transport Authority, or BMLTA for short, which is supposed to approve all transport projects. And the BMLTA has been kept dysfunctional, even though it was constituted 2 years ago, to be in line with the National Urban Transport Policy. Now, without the approval of the BMLTA, ad hoc projects are being announced by the state government. Also, right now, the BBMP council is not in place because elections have not been held for 4 years. And so, the Metropolitan Planning Committee, which is supposed to plan for the entire Bangalore city or the metro region, that also is not in existence. So, the, metropolitan planning that is supposed to happen is not there at all. The revised master plan is also defunct, and all these decisions are being taken by the state government, which is the second tier of government, in the absence of the third tier of government as per the 74th constitutional amendment. That is a gross violation of the constitution itself that has happened. And on top of that, the transport plan does not even say. There is already a comprehensive mobility plan developed by the BMLTA or the BMRCL and DULT, and that does not contain these projects. These have been simply thought out of somebody's head and are being imposed on the city now without due process. That is the main contention.
And Ms. Chamraj, there's also the issue of money, of funds. We're now given to understand that the state government plans to borrow these 19,000 crore rupees. How are they going to pay it back? We know the kind of debt the state already has.
Absolutely. So, and all this loan is going to be on the head of every Bangalorean who is not going to be using these tunnel roads. Now, these tunnel roads will benefit whom? It will only benefit the 23 or 25 lakh private car owners of this city, who constitute just about 2.8% of the population of the state. So, we are incentivizing this small negligible percentage of citizens at the cost of 7 crore Kannadigas who don't even have other basic facilities and their fundamental rights. When you look at the state of the schools, the state of the hospitals without doctors, many schools, even after 10 years of the Right to Education Act, they are still not fulfilling the RTE norms for toilets, drinking water and so on. And there are no daycare centers for children who are suffering from malnourishment. And so we want to prioritize these costly projects for a select few people and disenfranchise or, not care for the fundamental rights of the rest of the population.
So, Dhruv Jatti, then is this just a dream project of luxury when even the basics are not in place? Many would say, and many are saying in fact, that DK Shivkumar, who's the minister, the deputy chief minister, the minister also in charge for Bengaluru, it's really his dream projects. And that's what's really, it boils down to, Dhruv Jatti.
I mean, it's quite absurd when you say it that way, because it has nothing for it to be doing as anybody's dream project. It's for the development of the state and for the benefit of the state. Now, coming to what Ms. Katyani had said, a healthy part of democracy and having discussions, discourse, dialogues, especially coming from such civic communities at a time when we're facing such urban apathy in Bengaluru is something that the Congress party acknowledges and encourages, in fact, even more, because only when we have the involvement of the public at large is when we will be able to take decisions at a much more concrete level. Now, that aside, let me take you back to the Bloomberg report, and that takes me back to you not less than 3 years ago. And that goes on to say that Bengaluru is, in fact, among the top 6 cities across the entire world in where expats are looking to move across. And to give you some information about the other cities, that also includes Kuala Lumpur, which has the KL towers, and in fact, they generate a revenue of close to about 65 million ringgits. You also have Lisbon, and in Lisbon you have the Vasco da Gama Babylon 360 towers, and then you have the Skydecks in Dubai, which make close to about 600 to 7 million dirhams across the year. And then you have Rio de Janeiro as well as Mexico, and in Rio de Janeiro you have various Skydecks, which upon the very famous Copa Blanca. And let me remind you, Mexico and that Mexico City and Rio de Janeiro are very similar cities to Bengaluru. Even though they have Skydecks, they face various issues, basic amenity issues, whether it's access to water, poverty, etc. But why do people flock to cities like Mexico and Rio de Janeiro? It's because that these cities have become vibrant over the last few years. The amount of tourism, the amount of revenue that this has generated, that has to be put into picture as well. These Skydecks are not just projects that stand alone. They generate ample amount of revenue, which is beneficial to the entire state. And to also add on to that, let's keep in mind that back in the day when we envisioned Bengaluru from transforming itself from the pension city to the Silicon Valley, there was much apprehension. But did it not become a reality? And that also reminds me of Shri SM Krishna ji today, who was in fact the pioneer of branding Bengaluru across the entire world. The city requires development, and the Congress party is working strong, fast, and hard towards it.
Sure, the city requires development. No one is denying that. But the basics are not in place. That's what the issue is. It's great that you're thinking of these revenue-making models, and that's how every city, like you said, should develop. And eventually, the money will come off it because tourism will boom, because more people will perhaps come in. But is Bangalore equipped for more people to come in? That's another question many people are asking, because those people who've been living there for decades together are tired of how resources are stretched thin, how the basics are not in place. But GS Prashant, as far as the politics of this goes, as far as this particular project goes, do you also agree with what activists are saying, that there is a lot that seems to be unanswered when these projects were proposed, were floated?
See, definitely this seems to be the idea of Congress to loot the people of Karnataka, which they have been doing. If you take this project, for example, the cost has gone up from 8,000 crores to 12,690 crores in a matter of 2 months. The initial project report submitted by them. And the DPR has been done in a record time of 3 months. The DCM who talks about brand Bengaluru was a record spree, saying that in 100 days he'll fill up so many potholes and he will find the officers. And the Congress spokesperson is talking about various cities in the world which have Skydecks, but I don't think they have cities which have completely pothole-ridden roads and roads which are full of water when it rains, to have Skydecks there. On the ground, there is zero development in the last 18 months which Congress has undertaken. They have undertaken only corruption, and therefore the city is suffering a lot. And insofar as this particular project is concerned, just because Shiv Kumar envisages that he wants something, he is pushing it through, and this is not even part of the comprehensive plan of Bangalore. So therefore, this is nothing but Congress trying to hoodwink the people, loot the money at the cost of development. Congress stands for anything but development. Development is not on the agenda of Congress. It is CM's economic advisor who is on record to say that there are no funds for development. And they've already increased the prices of all essential commodities, made by petrol, diesel. They have hiked the charges in the government hospitals. And now you're dealing with infant mortality and maternal mortality, which was small children, infants have died. Young mothers have died in Ballari and Belgaum, and Congress has no concern for them. All that they're looking at is DCM and his cabinet colleagues, including the CM, in making money. Everybody is involved in a scam or other. The CM is involved in Muda scam. Kharge family is involved in the land grabbing of 5 acres which they have apparently returned, and all of us know what.
And all of which are under investigation, and we'll find out whether those charges actually stand true or not. Sure, but Dhruv Jatti, as far as these projects go and this facelift of the Bengaluru city is concerned, could this have been better planned? Like you said, in democracy there has to be consultation. You're being accused of doing exactly the opposite. Now that those concerns have been raised, would the Congress be willing to go back to the drawing board?
Just before I get to your question, I had a couple of remarks to make to the previous accusations made. When the BJP speaks about loot, I think it's quite ironic because every street and corner in Karnataka not just whispers, but they growl in anger when they hear about the 40% Sarkar and what happened over the last tenure of the Bharatiya Janata Party's government. Prashant, I heard you.
Okay, let's not speak over each other and heckle each other. Please let Dhruv Jatti finish. I'll come back to you for your response.
Let's have some manners.
Dhruv Jatti, go ahead.
Yeah, and you said, and I also heard a remark about how cities that have skydecks don't flood. I mean, if somebody just opens a newspaper and reads it every day, they would know about what happened in Dubai. If somebody opens a newspaper and reads about Mexico and Rio de Janeiro, they know what happens over there. These are cities that have skydecks as well. It was quite an illogical argument, in my opinion, whatever that was brought upon. Now, coming back to your question, when you talk to anybody who's lived in Bangalore city back in the days from the 1960s, they will tell you that they never imagined the city to boom to such a level in the amount of migration that we faced. Irrespective of which government it is, I'm speaking on a bipartisan role. Irrespective of which government it is, there has been a struggle when it comes towards managing traffic congestion, population, etc. And that's a matter of fact. It's something that we cannot ignore. And to be honest, in all fairness, irrespective of which government has come into picture, the Congress government currently has done its best efforts to make sure cities like Mysuru, Hubli, Belgaum, the twin cities Hubli, Dharwad, as well as Gulbarga and Kalyan, Karnataka, have been given ample amount of preference in terms of manufacturing units and various projects being established over there in order to make sure that Bengaluru isn't heavily burdened. And also speaking about the Twin City, which I'm sure you must be aware about, which the government has recently launched, an alternative city to Bengaluru, and where various projects will take forth in the future. Now, the Outer Ring Road Association, August 30th, they write a letter in where they say that there was a loss of about 225 crores because of the traffic congestion and because of the floods. Sorry, not the traffic congestion, because of the floods that took place in the city. And if we continue to rely on the same infrastructure, my point brings you back to how the city hasn't been equipped for decades and decades together.
Sure. So there may be an upgrade of infrastructure that's required, but is it required at the cost of 19,000 crore rupees?
Poonam, that's what we've been doing.
That's the question that's being asked. Many would say that this twin tunnel project that's being proposed is not the solution. In fact, it might be counterproductive, for all you know.
Yes.
Not at all. Not at all. I think if you look at the tunnel projects that have been set up anywhere across the world, they have been a huge success in terms of controlling traffic congestion.
But anywhere around the world, and what Bangalore is and what it can and cannot handle are very different, and you've agreed yourself. But yes, Prashant, quick 30 seconds. You had a point to make.
Poonam, that's exactly what people told, that Bengaluru couldn't be a Silicon Valley of India.
Sure, but by your own admission, Dhruv Jatti, you said that what was envisioned of Bangalore is not what reality is currently. We did not realize that there would be such a population boom. So then deal with that first before we go into projects that cost 19,000 crore rupees. But yes, Prashant.
Poonam, nobody is denying the fact that Bangalore has grown leaps and bounds in the last few years, we agree. But in the decades that the Congress spokesperson is talking about, Congress has been in power for 90% of those decades. So therefore, if anybody is to blame for the mess that Bangalore is today involved in the civic infrastructure mess, it's Congress. So therefore, now to say that 90,000 crores is not a big amount,
I don't think that the Congress or the BJP have a moral high ground over this. And Ms. Chamraj would, I'm sure, echo that sentiment with me. Ms. Chamraj, both the Congress and the BJP have equally betrayed the voters and taxpayers of Bengaluru. Would you not say that? The BBMP has been without a commissioner, without elections in both their regimes.
Yes, they have both made sure that the third tier of government doesn't exist. And I don't want to get into their internecine quarrels. But the point is that all professional scientists and experts have said this is not the solution. And they have shown that having the tunnel road is not going to decongest Bengaluru, and the solution is to improve the public transport. And right now we have about one private vehicle for every citizen of Bengaluru, whereas in many other big cities, London for instance, only 3 people have one vehicle.
And it's interesting you draw that parallel. We really hope that the state government is listening to the voices of activists like you and the common Bengalurians who want better amenities, who want the basics to be settled before we get into these fancy projects. I have to leave it there. I thank you all for joining us here on this edition. It's a wrap from my side here on this edition of Plain Speak. Anna Narasimhan joins you next.
Greenlam Laminates presents CNN News 18 Primetime Studio.
Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan and we're coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio presented by Greenlam Laminates. As opposition MPs submit a notice against Rajya Sabha Chairman VP Dhankar calling for his impeachment alleging bias, there is complete disunity in the INDI bloc. After Mamata Banerjee hinting at inclination towards leading the opposition alliance, more allies have now come out in support of her and rejecting perhaps somewhere the leadership or of the Congress party led by Mallikarjun Kharge and Rahul Gandhi. Samajwadi Party and the Trinamool Congress have stayed away from Rahul Gandhi leading the stir on crony capitalism both inside and outside the house. There's been more rejection for Rahul Gandhi even as RJD chief and former Bihar chief minister Lalu Prasad Yadav backed the Trinamool Congress chief Mamata Banerjee for leadership role in the alliance, snubbing the Congress's frequent objections to the proposal. Soon after, the Trinamool Congress MP Kalyan Banerjee echoed the sentiment and took a dig at Rahul Gandhi, saying one must not have ego. It does not mean that if Mamata Banerjee becomes leader of the India bloc, she will be a contestant for the Prime Minister's post. The Congress's performance in Lok Sabha elections had fueled the ambitions of the India bloc, but the drubbing in the assembly polls in Haryana and Maharashtra thereafter seems to have brought the alliance at a crossroads yet again. Even in the recently concluded Maharashtra elections, the Congress managed to bag only 16 out of the 102 seats they contested. Now here on The Right Stand, we ask, is the INDIA unsafe under Rahul? Is there no confidence in Rahul Gandhi within the India alliance?
कांग्रेस उसकी आपत्ति जता रही है लालू जी।
कांग्रेस क्यों जताने नहीं हो? ममता को
ममता बनर्जी को अभी इंडिया अलायंस को लीडर करेंगे तो अच्छा फाइट होगा। बीजेपी का अगेंस्ट में, नरेंद्र मोदी का अगेंस्ट में लड़ने के लिए एक लीडर चाहिए, कैप्टन चाहिए।
सबसे पहले तो कोई विवाद नहीं हो रहा है, विचार विमर्श हो रहा है। ये रणनीति क्या होनी चाहिए, जिम्मेदारी किसके ऊपर होनी चाहिए। ममता जी ने कहा है कि वो ये जिम्मेदारी लेने को तैयार हैं एंड कंसिडरिंग उनका एक वास्ट एक्सपीरियंस रहा है, एक्सपोजर रहा है, लंबी लड़ाई रही है, तो वी शुड सपोर्ट दिस आइडिया और डिस्कशन होना चाहिए इंडिया गठबंधन की जब नेक्स्ट मीटिंग होगी।
इट वाज इनेविटेबल दैट as the people of India have rejected the Congress's own political partners like the INDI Alliance, the so-called INDI Alliance, will also start rejecting Rahul Gandhi.
Well, we go across to our guest, Aprajita Sarangi, Lok Sabha MP and spokesperson of the BJP should be joining us. Sabnam De, political analyst, leans towards the Trinamool Congress, will also be joining us. And